Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine, awarded Best in Class Top Dealers 10 years in a row by Yamaha. Awarded as a 5-star dealer in G3's Top 10 Dealers in the United States 20 years in a row. Awarded as a Platinum Dealer by Godfrey. Add it all up, and what does it tell you? It tells you there's no better place to buy a boat than Madisonville Marine. You need to get down to Highway 411 North in Madisonville. They have a better selection, better prices, and they've got every award the world has to offer. Madisonville Marine, for more than 45 years. They know what they're doing. They'll take good care of you. madmarine.com. All right, welcome back in. I am sitting here with Justin Hamilton. We are at the little bistro table. One of these days I'm going to drop a thing of the Eiffel Tower behind us. We try and do different things on this show, try and bring you different information in different ways. We don't have a lot of time to run through it ahead of time. So sometimes it's challenging, sometimes it backfires. We'll see how this goes. Justin, I know you'll do your part. I hope my part works here. Wanted to talk about, first of all, what Georgia did to impact Tennessee. Now, we discussed last week on the show when you couldn't make it, the fact that Georgia having all those 5 stars makes it a little easier for them. There aren't a lot of teams that can just take the blueprint and put it into play and mimic it. However, there may be some things here or there that somebody could grab this, and so that's what I want to run through here. So let's start Georgia versus Tennessee's offense last week. First of all, let's start inside out the line of scrimmage. 5 in the box. Why did Georgia play with 5 guys in the box? What's the point?
5 defenders in the box. Tennessee's 5 offensive linemen. You add to that the running back. They're giving Tennessee the numbers advantage in the interior and inviting them to run the ball. That also allows Georgia to add extra defenders to help in the pass coverage.
And the idea being your big plays come on the outside with those wide receivers rather than inside with these running backs. So.
Absolutely. That's to that point in the season, that's where they had seen Tennessee hurt people. Obviously, this past week, also the same thing. So let's make them do something different.
All right. Number 2, Tennessee likes to trap one of your defenders kind of in no man's land. Those wide spreads. Is it going to be pass? Is it going to be run? And they hope you're going to be stuck out there and you don't know which way to go. You're going to be too far out to make a difference.
Yep.
But Georgia just said, you're not going to have that. We're not going to give you that choice. We're making the decision ahead of time. Our guys are going to play the pass.
That's correct.
What was the point?
The defender, the overhang defender here, defensively speaking, what we like to do is we like to ask this defender to be help in the run game, help in the passing game. We try to put him in between the 2 receivers and the core of the line of scrimmage. Georgia said, we're going to make that decision for you. We're going to go ahead and commit this player to playing in the passing game. That also contributes to the 5 in the box. But now it's saying, hey, we're going to put our defender out here where he can align to help himself. He's not in no man's land by their splits or their alignments. And we're telling him you're going to disrupt number 11.
All right, very good. Let's go to number 3. Another thing Georgia had an advantage a lot of teams don't have. They had a linebacker that could take out Tennessee's tight end.
That's where those 5 stars come into play. The young man, Smile Munden, that was covering the tight end, I visited with him, knew when I saw him, this young man is not getting out of the state of Georgia, but he's the type of player at linebacker that's a good enough athlete to cover a tight end. So now rather than committing a safety to coverage on the tight end, as most teams do, you can put a linebacker there, you can put a safety now in a different area of the field, mainly where Jalin Hyatt was.
Very good. All right, number 4. You touched on this one just a little. Disrupt Jalin Hyatt. Sounds simple. What did Georgia do?
Georgia committed a defender that had no deep coverage responsibility, the overhang defender that we just showed, and said, hey, we want to make sure that he's getting jammed, getting rerouted. The Bill Belichick style of defense that they used on the Colts back in the day of this player is not going to get to his spots on the field without disruption.
All right. Other teams, you can try that. You can do that. I'm sure other teams have tried to disrupt Jalin Hyatt, but again, it takes a special kind of athlete to be able to do it.
It absolutely does. Everybody watches it, and as a coach, you look and you say, is this good scheme or is this the players that they have? And in Georgia's case, it was both, but it's much easier said than done. But when you have the personnel that Georgia has in the interior to handle the run game, that allows you to be flexible on the outside.
All right, let's look at number 5 here. Last thing. Play loose versus their receivers. You talked about this a few weeks ago, that Tennessee, they don't run a ton of routes. And it's basically, if you play one way, we do this. If you play this way, we do the other. Why did they play loose versus the receivers?
Because if we play that one way
I'm leaving it open for you.
If we play that one way as loose, that tells your receivers based on their routes and based on their conversions to stop their routes and catch the ball short. They're going to attack the space where the defender's not. And Georgia gave them that space, and they said that each player that you throw the ball to, we've got a defender one-on-one that can make that tackle. And ultimately, they did make those tackles. Very few missed tackles for Georgia that game or period.
Now, Pitt, for example, they played more tight. It was more go ahead, try and beat us down the field deep with our guys, more one-on-one. Because if you play tight, they're going to go try and pass you. But if you're playing back like that, as Georgia did, it's, again, Georgia just saying – you're going to take 10 plays down the field. You're not going in 1 or 2 plays. You're not going to have your 50-second drive. You're either going to run it or you're going to throw short, and you're going to have to do it all the way down the field with us tackling.
You're going to have to beat us left-handed. That was their entire game plan. They had the personnel to accomplish it, and obviously we saw the results.
Very good. I want you to walk through something else. We're going to do a demonstration over here.
Let's do it.
Let me get everybody to come on in. As we try this further, we got Justin's going to be we've got 2 defensive backs, Justin and Chuck Cavaleris. We've got 2 receivers, Will Overstreet and Bob Hodge. All right, Justin, let's start with Alabama. I want to talk about Alabama, Kentucky, and Georgia. Alabama basically was trying to prevent busts and screw-ups. So how did they play Tennessee's receivers on the outside? Those vertical switches that you just drew up on that same marker, that same wipey board.
The easy way is Alabama says, I'm the safety, I'm DeMarco Helms in that game. Chuck is the corner. Will is the slot receiver, Jalen Hyatt.
Chuck, take a step toward Justin just so we can see you there. There we go.
All right, Chuck, you're in there. And then Bob is going to be the outside receiver. That's Brew McCoy. That's Ramel Keaton. That's Cedric Tillman. I am going to have Will no matter where Will goes, or I'm going to have Jalen Hyatt. Chuck is going to be playing number 1 man-to-man. So as these guys, you don't have to switch, but as they start to take direction, Will goes this way, Bob is coming this way. Chuck and I are going to stay with our matches, the original matches. We're going to stay on those guys. You guys can go back if you would, please. We're going to stay on those matches. The problem with that, we have our guys. We're not going to leave a man wide open. But now what happens is I, as the safety, I'm running to the furthest part, the most space of the field to cover, where it's me as a safety covering Jalen Hyatt. And what we saw, at least one of the touchdowns, was that DeMarco Helms was there. He just got outrun, and Hendon Hooker dropped the ball right on the money.
Okay. Now, Kentucky and Georgia played it a little differently. Instead of just saying we're locked in, tell us what they did.
Kentucky and Georgia played it the way that I as a coach would try to play it, where you want to be able to do both. You want to play matched up on our people, stay with who we have, and also be able to switch. As they switch, we would switch. So now, as Bob and Will work that same switch action, Chuck is going to take the receiver that comes to him. I'm going to take the receiver that comes to me. That's great. That gives you a way to get those matched up. You take the space away. The problem then becomes if we're trying to mix both. We're saying we're going to lock it sometimes. I'm going to lock mine, you lock yours. We're going to switch it sometimes.
Chuck's already confused. You're Kentucky, man. Here we go.
If we think that you think I'm doing one thing, I think you're doing another, that same switch action happens before we go. Chuck thinks that he's matched on Bob for the entire play. I think that we're going to play them as they come out.
Right.
The issue then becomes the switch action occurs. Chuck is staying locked on his match. I'm playing the receivers as they unfold. Jalen Hyatt is wide open down the field with no one within 30 yards of him.
Now, that was what happened with Kentucky. They got screwed up. Georgia didn't.
Georgia didn't.
Better athletes, and I don't want to say better coaching, but pretty good coaching. Their guys didn't bust as much as – there were some open. You did have some open guys against Georgia. You didn't hit them. But is that a credit to coaching, the fact that Georgia had it more down than Kentucky did?
I think it's a credit to coaching. I also think it's a credit to – this is how we're going to term our calls for their tempo.
And let me get everybody to line up there next to Justin, actually. But go ahead, tell me your thing, because we're going to end this segment. Finish your thought.
To me, it's good coaching, but it's also good terminology, good verbiage for your calls. To where we say this week we're going to use one word, and it's going to tell us that we're matching our people or that we're playing zone and switching off those receivers and having the personnel to do it.
Excellent. We are miles over. I hope that made sense to you at home. When we come back, I forget what we're doing. Let me read this. Let me read the screen. The Heisman race and UT's top concern going forward. That's what we're doing next. Coming back on the Sports Source.